September 12th, September 13th, I mean, there was a lot of uncertainty. Is it over right now? Are there more attacks coming, et cetera, et cetera? There was a lot happening externally because we're getting all these mobilization orders down, particularly for the security forces and the firefighters.
We were over there in the beginning of October. The war had kicked off approximately a week before we arrived in theater.
That mission out of Kuwait was to have been flown by another type of airplane and another squadron about 72 hours before we actually executed it. And as they planned it, word got out that that was happening, and because word got out, it was canceled, because diplomatically it was very sensitive to the Kuwaitis that we were launching out of Kuwait to go up to Afghanistan. Then it came around to us and us having our chance. And I put the lid on, not that I really needed to, because everybody was real smart about it. We kept that extremely quiet, even after the fact. Our guys were very, very disciplined and very well trained with that, and we didn't say a peep, so we got to do the mission. First F-16s in Afghanistan, 4/19.
One thing that we did while we were in the Persian Gulf supporting the war in Afghanistan was to initiate a major upgrade to the F-16 software. This was the change that allowed us to bring in the global positioning system, or GPS, into the aircraft. There had never been that major of a software change on a fielded unit before, but we were apprehensive about that. Maintenance felt confident they could do it. We were a bit anxious that we were going to end up with a bunch of Code 3 and broke jets, but in a matter of 3 or 4 days, they got the package in and had upgraded every jet, and we didn't drop a sortie.
Had a very big adrenaline rush, you know, knowing that your buddies are out there heading up 12 hours there and back, loitering in an area that's not very friendly, and hoping they're coming back.
Probably the most difficult aspect of the war in Afghanistan was that the taskings, or the requests for the aircraft positions and ordnance, were revolving over the matter of 2 to 3 hours. Well, we would take off with a planned mission, and it would be changed. You would be informed of the change somewhere en route, and by the time you actually got in theater, it would be changed a 3rd or 4th time. Fluidity with which that war evolved from takeoff to actually being on station was just amazing.
Probably the only difficulty that we suffered was watching those operators, those pilots in that seat for 11, 12 hours. But it was a great opportunity. We shined probably better than we thought we would.
Sometimes I've wondered if I ever ran into Vice President Cheney, I would ask him, do you know that my wing spent Christmas and New Year's of 2001 capping your house in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and just see what he would say.
The world has definitely changed from the days that I was the commander of a frontline combat organization to the days of Colonel Batnich and what the men and women of the 419th are asked to do today. It's a much different world out there, as we all know.
Call came over the radio that we had lost an airplane.
I was his wingman that day at Stud 4. It'll be a day that I'll never forget.
The loss of Dylan McFarland was a tough one. We've lost pilots over the years. At that time, under the circumstances, that was probably one of the tougher ones. He had developed quite a relationship with maintainers. Everybody cared a lot about him, knew who he was.
The 3 things I learned about McFly from being the summary courts officer is his 3 top loves were his wife Sandy, his children Josh and Ashley, and to fly F-16s.
We were activated and placed in Saudi Arabia. We were all put on 2-year activation orders, so there was a lot of people like, wow, 2 years of activation and the war's kicking off. So our future was very, very unknown.
The place was austere, it was barren, and kind of looked at it like, you got to be kidding me, right?
The problem was it was not designed for a large contingent of airplanes, and so it was fairly bare bones.
First few days at Base X was basically had to put on a construction hat. The place was full of plywood, it was full of power tools and drills.
You could be studying war plans and phoning up on all your go-to-war stuff, but now we were building desks, we were building stuff to make the tent workable operations tent.
We deployed some good weapons and did some good work over there. The morale was outstanding. From a maintenance perspective of this, when you get guys over there working and doing stuff that they're trained to do on a daily basis, it's a lot better than flying blue death at home.
I had talked on the VHF radio to contact Tunga of ARC 45 that particular day, see what was going on, and he said, "I need your help. You know, get down here now. They're going to need some more assistance." And what he was talking about was some Army Special Forces folks that were down in the town of Arupa that were experiencing some potential overrun situation.
We supported them with a couple laser-guided bombs. We're normally trained to drop those from 15 to 20,000 feet above the ground, and we were dropping them from 2,000 to 4,000 feet above the ground, so that's a little trickier.
I think the most rewarding experience for the whole conflict, the early stages, was the fact that we were there to support the Army and the Marines, and being a part of that was really gratifying.
They had contractors that were come in and clean up the place after us, and so we're packing up our stuff. Contractors are kind of already almost banging on the door.
My daughter was 4 months old when I left, but to see her growing up and crawling and being 9, 10 months old, it was a very joyous moment for me.
Different missions than we flew in 2003 because now the major air campaign was over, and now we're still flying close air support, but there's a lot less bomb dropping going on.
Some of the incoming rounds into the compound, something we weren't used to, but not a big threat. Something we dealt with. Folks handle it real well. Maintenance went really well.
We were looking for ways to maximize our future involvement in every mission area. I'm not sure how many F-16 units that will transition to the F-35 that are currently in, and A-10 units that are currently in the Air Force.
The Air Force has done a superb job over the years in I'll call airlift in associate units, and there's no reason why it's not going to work just as well on the fighter side of things.
I think that TFI, my perspective on it is it's going to be a good thing. It's like our transition from A models to C models. It's going to keep us around a lot longer.
And what you're seeing with TFI is the next step in that evolution is to, okay, the Guard and Reserve are frontline fighters and warriors. How can we use them in today's Air Force on a daily basis?
The Total Force Initiative isn't something that just somebody dreamed up just because. There are imperatives that are driving us in that direction, and chief among them is how many of these very expensive aircraft will we be able to afford.
There are attributes of a reserve component of the men and women of the 419th that does not reside in our active duty, and that is the experience level.
Every one of our people that were, especially in the art program, they were there because they wanted to be there. They weren't just waiting to get in, get out, and get it over with. They stayed. They wanted to be there. And that was the success of our unit. Great people.
We're going to miss what we've had in the past because it's significantly going to change. But we'll make this as good or better than what's taken place in the past.
There are a lot of challenges, but if we get this right, I think we'll look back in 5 or 6 years and say, you know, we have a better reserve and we have a better total force.
As we meet this challenge, I think it's important for our people to understand that this is just the end of one chapter and the beginning of another in our history. And I'm confident that sometime in the future, as people from this unit begin to meet another challenge, they will look back at the people from this era, and we'll have provided a great example of how you meet challenges and success for this unit and for our Air Force.
I enjoyed my job. I loved it. It was always hard, strenuous. You were always under pressure. But like I say, we had a wonderful workforce, motivated people. And that was air crew and maintenance and the weapons guys. It was really a life's experience. And a lot of people, I don't know, would have the opportunity to spend a life doing what they love like I did.